Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session to assist with a change of identity. And one of the key things that can happen naturally, I think, just based on childhood and day-to-day experiences, is that it's possible to fall into a trap of negative comparison, where the way that you feel about yourself is comparative and relative to the people that you're around. And there is a way of looking at that which can encourage people to feel better about themselves if they are around people that they feel less than, and to feel somehow worth less or inadequate if they are around people that seem to be better in the areas that they value. So in this hypnosis session, I utilize a metaphor of inadequacy as a parasite. And the parasite feeds on negative comparisons, and it utilizes regression to a point where they had felt that way, but also had felt really fulfilled. And in many ways, the most powerful suggestions that you can implement are those that are self-perpetuating. And interestingly, more than or less than suggestions can be quite helpful because it's very easy to know when to use them. So one of the key suggestions here is that the more that they celebrate their own talents and appreciate the things they admire in other people, the more fulfilled they feel, the more self-worth is increased. And the less that they utilize negative comparison, the more that it shrinks this kind of parasite of inadequacy and frustration in many ways. I think if you can relate to feelings of low self-worth, particularly when you are comparing yourself to other people, this session could be quite helpful. Obviously, it was created for a particular individual, so some of the references that relate to things like music and performing probably won't relate to you. But at its core, this is a session about relinquishing and starving the parasite of inadequacy. So if that relates, it might be beneficial. You can always click a link in the show notes to schedule a free consultation call to explore working with me. And obviously I can explain how that would work and what it would entail. But you might find that this hypnosis session, albeit that it was created for someone else, might actually be quite helpful for you. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and on the outward breath, just allow your eyelids to close. And as they close, enable your breathing to slow down. Breathing in and breathing out, incrementally slower. And I want you to focus your attention on a tiny dot in your forehead. Almost look at that dot behind your eyelids, focusing your attention on the very center of your forehead as you continue to breathe in and breathe out. Feel the heaviness of your eyes looking upwards into your forehead. That's it. Breathing in and breathing out. And as you focus on that tiny dot there in the middle of your forehead, really try and strain your eyes. Almost like a laser beam, focus on the very center of your forehead. And I want you to notice that the increasing tension around your forehead, your eyelids, your eyes is creating a desire to let go. So I want you to imagine simultaneously trying to focus on the top of your eyelid while pulling your eyelids down, feeling that tension, and then imagine releasing that need to focus. That's it, just relax the muscles in your forehead, around your eyelids. Breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, exhaling tension, feeling that you're able to let go. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine you're on a cruise ship. Perhaps you can picture a cabin, a room, comfortable bed. And I want you to imagine that in this place, your need of significance is being met. The need of people appreciating your talents, your competencies. And I want you to imagine lying on a bed in a cabin where it feels like your needs are being met. Notice how relaxed you feel. Head on that pillow, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. And in this place, I want you to feel that your cup is overflowing with a feeling of worthiness and significance. And perhaps for just an hour or so a day, there's an element of work. But even that fills your cup even more till it's overflowing. And here in this place, you can feel comfortable in your own skin, worthy, comfortable. And notice that when you make the evaluation that you have talent, that you're having a positive impact in the world, insecurities and comparison almost fades away to nothingness. And perhaps this is a clue that when you accept and embrace your talents, when you deploy your energy to positively impacting the world, it inoculates you, creates an immunity to the curse of comparison. So I want you to imagine that your physical body, particularly the logical, analytical part, is still there on that bed on that cruise ship, and your imagination is floating somewhere else. You can call it a current reality, a current timeline that you exist on. And I want you to imagine there is someone next to you that you consider better than. Maybe they're better at languages, maybe they're better at dancing, maybe they're more popular. And while you can see that person, I want you to scan your body for a feeling of being triggered. Emotional triggers always have a physical location. So at the point where you feel uneasiness, inadequacy, let me know by nodding your head if you can feel that. And just point to the location where it feels that inadequacy or incompleteness exists. Okay. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to give it a shape, a three-dimensional shape there in that location. maybe a color, maybe a movement, and realize that this is now the canary in the coal mine. That when this feeling, this shape, this essence is there in that location, it's a clue that inadequacy and insecurities are being activated. But I want you to take that same person with the same trigger and teleport you back onto that cruise ship just 10 minutes before you're about to perform. And I want you to imagine you give an incredible performance, such an emotive, positive impact on the people enjoying the music, the experience. And again, get the sense that that cup is overflowing. And then as you return after the performance to that same person that triggered feelings of inadequacy, if you get the sense that that shape, that feeling is either not there or just less intense than before, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to get a sense that when you embrace your talents, your impact on the world, inadequacy decreases. But simultaneously make the evaluation that the talents that you had were there in a different location. I want you to get a sense that in both cases your value hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the focus of your attention. So I want you to imagine living a life where comparison steals your joy, steals your happiness. But I want you to watch this life as an observer. Your physical body is still asleep in that cabin on a cruise ship. But imagine you are an invisible entity following your life, haunted by the idea that whenever you evaluate someone close to you is better than, I want you to see almost a parasite, a vampire, stealing your energy, your enthusiasm, your confidence, your self-esteem. Maybe you can see that in particular situations, and maybe you can see that taking place over weeks and months. And I want you to read the facial expression on this version of you that is always feeling less than, feeling inadequate. And I want you to imagine that the cognitive function required for that inadequacy is a comparative evaluation. That version of you isn't being triggered, but actually has created these triggers. I want you to see a version of you that can feel shitty whenever they like, because there is always something to compare, always something to contrast, always something to make the evaluation that that version of you is less than someone else. As the days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, I want you to see this curse like a growing parasite there in that location. But over time it gets bigger. And this feeds on comparison. That's what the parasite eats. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that the parasite of comparison is a creature that makes your stomach churn. Maybe you see it burrowed into your skin in that very location. It's just bigger now. it's growing. And every single time that version of you makes a negative comparison of themselves compared to someone else, the parasite has a meal, gets bigger, it grows. And perhaps you can jump forward in time 5 years, seeing that version of you with that huge parasite buried deep inside you. And parasites have a tendency of influencing their host. So now, see this version of you deliberately seeking out opportunities to feel less than. This parasite of inadequacy that feeds on comparison has an insatiable hunger. And while the parasite is getting bigger and bigger, see the enthusiasm in that version of you diluting. See the impact it's had on your career, your friendships, your relationships. And if you get the sense that only the parasite is winning in this way of thinking, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that if this parasite was a real creature, you would go to any length to remove this parasite. Surgery, extraction, chemicals, anything you could do to remove this parasite that is stealing your energy, stealing your joy, stealing your enthusiasm for life. And yet here in this timeline, not only are you not removing the parasite, you're feeding it daily. And I want you to imagine following that life all the way perhaps to your 80s or 90s or beyond. And the parasite is now of equal size to the body. And I want you to see a bitter, resentful, angry old man. Hear that version of you talking about how unfair things are, how unjust things are. Angry, bitter, resentful. But imagine that you can see a smiling parasite, huge, smiling, even getting a meal right at the very end. And I want you to rewind that all the way to the present until you see a tiny parasite there perhaps by the waist. And perhaps you could imagine a version of you that tries to follow the advice of the parasite, to be better than, almost being a narcissistic, insecure villain, that whenever you find someone that is better than, you see that version of you trying to be better. And just imagine that you got better at whatever that thing is. Someone is talented in some way. See that version of you doing whatever it takes to be better than. Aren't you just stealing what makes them feel good about themselves? Taking away their spotlight and giving them a shadow. Remembering that you are at your best when you help people, impact people, make a positive difference. But by attempting to steal other people's significance, you make them less than. Rather than helping, you're hindering people. Rather than saving them, you're enslaving them. And imagine following that life, that people become reluctant to talk about their achievements, their accomplishments, their skills, their capabilities, because they know it would send you on a mission that only a true villain would follow, to steal their significance, even if it's not something that they really desire. They only desire it because someone else has it. I want you to get a sense that there is a quality and emotion that sometimes you see in competitive children, where one child will damage another sibling's thing that they value and love the most, simply because they can't stand to see someone close to them getting so much joy from something. Some people would call that spite. Taking something of value and joy from someone else. And that spiteful sibling could steal it, or they could damage it. And if they steal it, they have it for themselves, and if they damage it, then nobody gets it. But at least that sibling is not sat with the comparative misery of seeing someone else experience joy. And I want you to imagine the misery you would experience. A future of spite, a future of ego, a future of control and coercion. And if you feel that that would send your life in an undesirable way, let me know by nodding your head. So I want you to feel like there is a third option. Accepting that nobody can be the best at everything, but also accepting that everyone has their talents. That your talents are a gift, but they're only a gift if you share them with the world. If you were the best musician in the world but never played for people, isn't that a tragedy? Isn't that selfish? And equally, there are people in the world with incredible talents that can enrich your life. And I wonder what would happen in this third future. Not a future of the parasite of comparison or the curse of spite, but a third option of balance, of acceptance and appreciation, a desire to evolve and cultivate your natural talents, but a deep desire to appreciate those natural talents in other people. To unlock the feeling of infinite joy comes from celebrating your talents and supporting others, being happy for yourself and being happy for others. And I want you to notice in this third future, there is still a tiny parasite there on your waist. But every time you see that version of you working and improving on your characteristics like persistence, determination, creativity and contribution, that parasite shrinks. The parasite atrophies, shrivels up. That the only thing that can make that parasite that steals your energy bigger is the feeling of inadequacy that can only come from evaluating yourself compared to others. But in this future, see yourself appreciating the talents, the qualities of other people. And as that parasite shrivels, see yourself smiling more. That all along, this was a parasitic belief that wasn't even real. That your worthiness is comparative. And I wonder what would happen if that was never true. Just a tiny parasite that started to grow as a child and get bigger. And if you're willing to starve that parasite to death by accepting yourself and appreciating the qualities in yourself and other people, let me know by nodding your head. And then step into that version of you. And imagine being in the situations that triggered in the past. That feeling of inadequacy now triggers a feeling of genuine appreciation. And feel that parasite shrinking and shriveling. As you do the things that give you joy, it shrinks. As you appreciate genuinely the talents and qualities in other people, it shrinks, but something else is growing. I want you to point to where you feel self-worth would be for you. And I want you to imagine that has a shape and a color. But as the parasite shrinks, self-worth seems to grow, filling you up. And then recall that memory on a cruise ship where you felt full, and notice that the self-worth there in that location was feeling full, overflowing with self-worth, giving you evidence that when you truly accept that you don't need to be perfect to feel worthy and valuable, you are overflowing with self-worth. And when you feel worthy, you have nothing but appreciation for the success and talents of other people. So feel that feeling of self-worth grow, but more importantly, unlock a desire to grow that self-worth until that too is overflowing. Realizing that if the parasite grows, you become the villain. And if the self-worth overflows, you become the hero. Both give you significance, but one is false significance and the other is that true feeling of joy, connection, and value. And imagine the next few days and weeks feeling like you're shrinking the parasite and overflowing that feeling of self-worth. Putting yourself in the very situations that before would have triggered you, now trigger you positively. They trigger appreciation, gratitude, recognition. And as you hear the words, say things like, "Well done, I'm proud of you." That's so good. I wish I could do things like that. Notice that that shrinks the parasite and again increases this feeling of self-worth. That your self-worth can come from the gift that you give other people to make them feel worthy and recognized and valid. Take these feelings, return to the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.